I think if we're talking about workload, I mean, freelancing really is defined as peaks and troughs of work. Some days you'll have no work and you'll be worrying about when it's going to come in again, and then that might happen for a couple of days, and then the third day, two or three clients will ask you to do several pieces of work or to be delivered tomorrow, and you end up doing a 15-hour day. So just little minute stresses like that sometimes can focus the mind, but other time, if it's quite a prolonged situation like that, it can really lead to burnout quite quickly.
I definitely found I was experiencing that a lot more in the beginning, in the first 6 months, especially because you don't have as many connections or as many clients or as much of a track record of doing it independently. I found it was much more about having confidence in my own ability to go out and secure more work if I needed it, and to deliver when I say I'm going to deliver, and that the clients are going to be happy and pay me for the work that I was doing. Because I think when there's that delay between when you hear about a project and when you're getting paid for the completion of it, you can
Mm.
kind of panic a little bit in between and think, what if I'm not good enough, or what if they're not happy, or what if it falls through, or for whatever reason they don't pay me for a couple of months and I need that income. So I think in the beginning it was more stressful for me, but eventually I kind of adapted to that, the ebbs and flows, and I realized that, what, sometimes I do have a couple of weeks of stretch with no work coming in, and then I am really busy. And I started to actually really enjoy that downtime that I had, knowing that it wasn't going to last, because I knew that it was going to come in and it was going to be busy, and I needed to be rejuvenated to be able to take that on. So for me, it was just that matter of like adjusting my own expectations and building confidence in my own ability to be able to handle it.
It's funny you mentioned about the start of your career. That's what it was like. I think on the other end of the spectrum, where you are an established freelancer and you have regular clients giving you work, I think sometimes there's a bit of an expectation that freelancers will always deliver the work no matter how much you throw at them. So if you have regular clients who are always giving you work, you might find that they give you more than a day's work in a day because they know you'll deliver it, regardless whether it goes into the night. But then as a freelancer, you kind of want to deliver it because you don't want to disappoint your clients and then end up not getting work for them next time. So both ends of the spectrum can like be quite stressful.
Yeah, it's true. I think the more experienced you are, the more the stresses then change towards, like you said, not letting the client down, or how much can I actually do without the quality of the work declining, or without upsetting anyone, or without, giving them up. One thing that I've learned is that having a network of other freelance medical writers is so important, because if you are feeling overwhelmed, there is always someone else out there who is looking for more work, who can step in and help out. And I think there is very much this reluctance to do that because you see them as your competitors in a way. But if you have a strong relationship with that client and you're just honest with them and you say, look, I'm doing it, I'm willing to do it, but I need an extra pair of hands, or maybe, I can split the workload with somebody else, I think they'd be more than happy to at least hear you out and hear what you know another route that you could take, especially if you already know that person, you have a relationship with them and they trust you. And so I think it's kind of having the confidence to realize it's not always black and white, and that there are other approaches that you could take without letting the client down, and being honest with them up front as soon as you know that you might be burning out or getting sick or overloaded or whatever it may be. You can just explain the situation and try to work on it with them.
It's about communication. Like then your client doesn't necessarily know that you're burning out if you just keep delivering the work over and over again, no matter how many hours a day it's taking you when you only have 7.5, 8 to actually do the work. Um,
Yeah.
another stress point, which I sort of count under workload as well, which I think is quite useful for your students, is finding the time to continue to deliver projects and develop as a writer. So if you're new into the industry, you might not realize that often there's no input back to the freelancer because everyone in agency life is busy. So you deliver the work, you rarely get input back. So how are you meant to actually develop as a writer if you're just churning out work without getting any input? So I think like the resources that you give to your students is really helpful to actually develop that writing from the get-go, so they actually have a good baseline to start on, and can actually get input back before they just start churning out all this work constantly.
Yeah, and I think being members of associations like MY, you mentioned, I'm in Canada and I work a lot with US clients as well. So I'm a member of AMWA, the American version. And there's always like webinars and trainings and events and things where you can just network with people. And I think one thing that I've learned is that even if I'm not getting direct feedback from a client, I could show that work behind the scenes to a trusted freelancer who I know has got extensive experience on that type of deliverable. And I could say, look, am I hitting the mark with this? Do you have any edit suggestions? Do you have any feedback? And, maybe have a subcontractor who you can go to for proofreading or get a little bit of training or input from. I think that can be really valuable because the responsibility is on you to keep moving things forwards, like you said. But I think having that sense of community and support in doing that can alleviate some of that stress that you might experience.
I agree. I highly suggest and recommend by anyone new in medical writing as a freelancer to join MWA or AMWA, just because the amount of resources that they have, they're just is so useful. And it's not just about writing style, like you said, it's about actually just being a freelancer, and really key tips as well to just learning how to communicate with clients, manage workload, manage client expectations. Some really, really useful information.